Welcome to Speaking from Experience, the podcast where real life lessons become real life conversations. I'm Shannon, and each episode is rooted in personal experiences, challenges, growth, healing, relationships, faith, and life's everyday struggles. My goal is to share the honest insights that inspire, encourage, and remind you that you're not alone on your journey. Thank you for tuning in. Let's grow, let's learn, and heal together through the power of experience. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Speaking from Experience, the podcast where real life meets real conversation. I'm your host, Shannon, and today we're talking about something that hits home for a lot of people, but doesn't always get enough attention. Relationships after divorce. Now, before I go any further, I want to thank the people that came from Spotify all the way to YouTube. I know it was a long journey. I know it's been a long time. Forgive me, but I wanted to give you the visual on this second season, right? I'm your host, Speaking from Experience, Shannon Renee on Spotify. I just wanted to give you my experience on my dating life in my relationships and all the trials and tribulations I went through and how everything is going now. So follow me on this journey, on this healing journey that I have come to realize that a lot of people need before they jump into their next relationship, especially after divorce. So, moving right along, when a marriage ends, it doesn't just change your relationship status, especially on Facebook or social media. It's more of a personal relationship status change, right? It can shift how you see yourself, love yourself, trust, and even when you expect from future relationships. A lot of people end up connecting deeply with someone who's been through something similar. And while that kind of connection can feel really comforting at times and like finally be understood, it can also get complicated if both people are still carrying unhealed wounds. Today, we're going to look at what happens when two people bond over shared trauma, the difference between actually healing and just coping, and how to set yourself up for a healthy relationship after divorce. Divorce can leave some pretty deep emotional scars. Feeling like rejection, failure, abandonment, guilt, and anger, and fear are all pretty common. So when you meet someone who just gets it because they've been there too, it can feel like a huge relief. This is often where trauma bonding can start. Not because anyone is doing something wrong, but because shared pain can create a really strong connection. The problem is, a relationship built mostly on shared wounds can slip into unhealthy patterns. Both people might start relying on each other for healing that really needs to come from within through personal growth, reflection, faith, counseling, support systems, and time. Instead of moving forward, the relationship can end up circling back to old pain over and over and over again. Healthy healing after divorce starts with actually giving yourself space to grieve. The end of a marriage is a real loss, and losses take time to process. Healing also means being honest about your part in what happened, forgiving yourself and others, and choosing to learn from the experience instead of letting it define you. Before jumping into a new relationship, it helps to pause and ask yourself, have I really accepted that my marriage is over? Am I looking for a partner or just trying to fill a void? Have I dealt with my emotional triggers? Can I trust someone with constantly comparing them to my ex? And am I actually emotionally ready for something healthy? A healed relationship isn't about two perfect people coming together. It's about two people who know their wounds, take responsibility for their healing, and communicate honestly and choose growth over comfort. At this point in my life, after my divorce, I found myself being comfortable in being a wife and a mother. And what I mean by that is my mindset was constantly on being a mother, being a being there for somebody who needed me, so I thought, right? But the person who needed me the most was myself. And so, long story short, I jumped right into another relationship. And I never even thought about boundaries. I never even thought about what I liked and disliked at this moment. I literally was going off of all the things that I was so used to and comfortable with. I want to address the fact that I'm not bashing anybody. I'm not trying to put anybody down. Just recanting and learning from the things that I learned in this next relationship, right? And I learned a lot of things about myself. One, you have to pause in life and get to know yourself before you jump into anything else. Reflect and do a lot of reflecting with yourself and with God first. Um, I felt like God abandoned me a little bit, but I know now, and I knew then that God was with me the whole time. I was the one that was lacking. I was the one that felt lost in the sauce when all this was going on, right? I would pray, but did I have faith? Because I jumped the gun in finding another relationship. And the way this young man approached me at our job or whatever, it seemed like he knew everything and knew all the right things to say when it came to um, trying to rebuild myself and trying to heal on my own. The next oopsie I did, we had a child together. And I love my baby girl. He does too. He loves her too. So she is well loved. But the thing was, I jumped the gun on that as well. And I just felt wrong because if you know from my earliest or my last, my kids were taken away from me or whatever, as if I was this deadbeat mama, you know. But they were taken away from me, and then I ended up making another child. And it's like, dang, I don't know what that was about, but I think she was there to keep me grounded. Yeah. But having a relationship after divorce is really an unhealed thing to do because you really got to get to know somebody else while you're getting to know yourself, right? And if they're not there for the right reason, then it's all going to go downhill. You know, said it's not intentional, but two unhealed people sometimes don't work out because you're still ciphering all the unhealed things you have both been through in your past, right? Um, so we met each other. Everything was going great because we both were trying to find healing in one another. Not so good thing either. Um, we ended up having our baby girl, but in that, um, I met him and he was in some trauma, right? He had just lost his son like a year before I met him, to heart failure. And it was just a lot to deal with losing a child, you know. And I had lost a child before my older children came. Me and my ex-husband lost a child um right before him. So we kind of bonded on that. We bonded on past traumas from our previous relationships. And I want to say, if you are healed, there is a difference between confiding in someone about your old relationship and a difference between reminiscing. I can confide in you and say, hey, this is what he did, A, B, and C. This is how it felt when he did. And then there's a difference between saying, man, we used to go and do this together. And our favorite meal was this. When you're healed, you'll know how to communicate that gracefully and respectfully. Because once you start reminiscing about somebody else, it makes it look like you kind of really have not gotten over that person and all the trauma that you experienced with it. So learn how to decipher. That's another way to decipher if you're healed or not and you're ready to move on. Um, um, Also, don't tell people too much of what happened back in the past because some people are genuinely there to understand you and want to guide you in the right direction. Then you have other people that are genuinely there to listen and use it against you. Unfortunately, we have people like that in this world, and we have to use discernment when we're hopping back into another relationship after a big major divorce, because divorce is like a loss, it's like a death, and that's what it felt like I had never gotten the chance to grieve properly, right? I Normally you see the casket going down, but it doesn't really hit you until you're about to text that person, and it's like, oh shoot, they not here no more, you know. That's how a divorce feels to me. uh, I had great intentions with this man, and I think he did as well. But he has some unhealed trauma from the loss of his son and a divorce itself, you know. With that span of time that we were together, he had lost about 6 family members, and I mean close family members. 2 uncles, 2 cousins, his grandmother and his mom. And I want to take the time to say that they were some wonderful people. And I'll never want to question why God brings people home to him at such an early age. But I think it was a wake up call for both of us because eventually he and I relied on his mother for a lot of things. You know, she was willing to help. She helped watch our child. And she did a lot of things when it came to trying to help us build our relationship. Um, there was a lot of things that she told me about her son that I should have took heed to, and I was trying to protect him, and that protection kind of hurt me, you know. But in the long run, I really appreciated her. That day was a devastating day for both of us when she ended up passing unexpectedly. And I just want to thank her for all the things that she did for us because I feel like she was a part of our healing process too. And one thing she told me that will stick to me to this day, and I just heard her son this a couple months ago. Like, your mom literally told me that I was gonna bring you back to God, and I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not that. I'm trying to find myself in God. But I feel like that's a major message to say because one dim light can be lit by another light, especially like that whole um lighter effect, like when you douse a lighter into water and it goes out and it doesn't work anymore, but you take a very well lit lighter and it still works and performs great, and you light that and light the other one. You might not see the flame in the other one, but you touch it together and the flame comes. I felt like that was, and I don't think I ever left God. I don't know what to call it. I just kind of checked that, and that's just me being honest. And I was just like, trying to find my way back to prayer, trying to find my way back to worship, trying to open up that Bible, and it felt so heavy to open up because I feel like my spirit wasn't there anymore. It was just like I felt betrayed by a lot of people, and then this relationship ain't working either. Like, God, what is going on? But the faith of a mustard seed is real. Like, my faith was still there, so I had to like flick it on him a little, you know. But eventually we'll get to that point. But I want to really touch on healing yourself before you jump back into a relationship. And if you're dating after divorce, be mindful that loneliness is not a reason to settle, and healing isn't something you rush through. The right relationship should support your growth and not replace the work you still need to do on yourself. You know, growth is a major part of life. And if we're always stagnant in the place that we started from and we never learn in this life, I teach my kids that all the time. Always find yourself learning, always find yourself growing into a new person, into the person that you want to be. And if it takes loneliness to go through that, do that. But realize that loneliness and silence is a way to get closer to God. I learned for myself after this second relationship because eventually we ended up separating. Um, I learned that silence and being alone, I wasn't really ever alone. God was right there with me, but that silence allowed me to hear him clearer. It's like when you're in a room full of students and you're trying to hear that teacher, but you really can't because there's somebody popping gum in one ear, they throwing paper on the other side of you, they having a deep discussion over here, and the teacher is just trying, and you trying to get to her. If she eliminated everybody out that class, you can hear her perfect from the silence that was caused by eliminating everybody. And I had to do that. I learned that elimination, silence, and loneliness brings that foundation back to where you needed to heal for somebody else. And on a woman's standpoint, we have to have that center for us, for our babies, uh, for our next relationship, to be a great wife to somebody's son. You know, I think we try to be the potter in some certain situations when we got to let God do his job, right? Um, we look at potential, we look at what he aspires to do, but we got to realize that if he doesn't have that potential or he doesn't have the want to aspire to be something great in this life, we kind of got to let people go and let them figure it out on their own. But I just want to let someone out there know that's going through a divorce. Don't rush into a relationship. Do not rush into a relationship without being healed first. Uh, find what your likes are, find what your dislikes are, find your way back to God. Start reading, start worshiping, praying, singing. And the Bible gives us all the answers that we need in this life. What we do, we start to stray away, looking at social media and stuff like that and forming our own opinions. When in all actuality, the Bible has all the answers that we need. But as we wrap up today's episode, just remember your divorce is a chapter in your story, not the whole book, right? You can learn from it, grow through it, and still experience healthy, meaningful love in the future. And love is going to come, love will come, but allow God to time it perfect. Like, I really want to make a shirt that says God's timing is perfect, because it truly is. We have to have the faith and we have to believe in Him and know that He will direct our path in the way that we should go. And we'll never depart from it because it's going to be in our foundation. Learn to hold Him as the anchor in your life. So when you grab your hand for somebody else and they eventually, but we will be anchored in Him so tough that when they do let go, you'll be okay. And I had to learn that this is just a chapter. I mean, I had so many anxiety attacks. It was crazy. And I was pregnant. So I'm having an anxiety attack about my last relationship and about this new one and having a child at the same time. When I tell you, women are strong, but don't put yourself in positions to where you have to be strong. You put yourself in a position where you are healed and you understand what healing does for you and the next person that you're with. Because everybody wants to be loved. I'm not knocking that. But love comes within, love comes from God. And there are times where we need to just sit back and chillax and learn ourselves. You know, what I do want to ask is, have you ever connected with somebody because of shared pain? Did it help you heal or did it make healing more difficult? And as we wrap up today's episode, just remember your divorce is a chapter in your story, not the whole book. You can learn from it, grow through it, and still experience healthy, meaningful love in the future. Thank you for joining me on Speaking from Experience. Until next time, keep healing, keep growing, and keep believing that your best chapter might still be ahead. Speaking from Experience.